Hi, and welcome back to another review. It's a Richard Bachman book, which means it's a Stephen King book, Thinner. This book was written in the 1980s. I think it was first published in 1984, and there are some things we need to talk about before we jump in. Okay. This book, written in 1984, predominantly revolves around a traveling band of Roma or gypsies. So they are continually referred to as gypsies in this book. And I just wanted to take a second to read you just a little blurb from a website, which I will be posting below, that just gives a little bit more details about who the gypsy Roma people became or where they came from. Okay, so I will link this below, but here's what it says. Roma originated in the Punjab region of northern India as a nomadic people and entered Europe between the 8th and 10th centuries CE. They were called gypsies because Europeans mistakenly believed they came from Egypt. This minority is made up of distinct groups called tribes or nations. Most of the Roma in Germany and the countries occupied by Germany during World War II belonged to two different family groupings. Both groups spoke a common dialect called Romani or Romani. I'm not sure how to say it exactly, but it's based on Sanskrit, which is the classical language in India. The term Roma has come to include both of these family groups, though some Roma prefer being known as gypsies. Some Roma are Christians and some are Muslim, having converted during the course of their migration through Persia, Asia Minor, and the Balkans. So it says, for centuries they were scorned and persecuted across Egypt. This information is specifically coming from the Holocaust Encyclopedia, and it says Zigeuner, the German word for gypsy, derives from a Greek root meaning untouchable. So that's who we're dealing with. I'm going to refer to them as the Roma throughout this description, or Roma throughout this book that I'm talking about, just because I feel like that is the according to everything I could find, the more accepted term for this family groupings, or what are they also called? The tribes or the nations that originally came from this area. So now back to the book. This book starts out with our main character, who is a lawyer, and we have learned that he has run over someone with his car and killed them. This person is part of the Roma band that's traveling around and have stopped through his city in Connecticut, I think. I'm not even sure. You know, we're in New England because it is a Stephen King book, and that's predominantly where his stories take place. And so we're in that area. But anyway, the roaming group has come into town, and this woman walked out between two cars and he ran her over. Then he gets arrested for involuntary manslaughter. That whole thing happens pre-book. So we pick up the book with the lawyer being acquitted. All the charges have been dropped. He has been let go, and he has run into an old man that is with the traveling group, maybe their elder or something. He's not sure who he is. And anyway, the man has touched him and said the word thinner. So what we're dealing with through this entire novel is that our main character is becoming thinner and thinner and thinner, and it doesn't matter what he does, he's still losing weight. And nobody wants to believe him when he says, maybe this man did something to me. Until we find out that maybe that's not the only person that he touched. So that's what happens in this book. I thought that it was so interesting to delve into the mind of someone who is kind of losing control of themselves, and there's no way for them to stop it. And the links that he is willing to go through to figure out what happened and try to reverse the curse that he thinks is put on him. So I thought that it was really good, but it was written in 1984. And there are some 1984 mentalities in this writing. Otherwise, I thought that it was good. It ended with kind of what I've started to think of as like a Richard Bachman ending, which is definitely different to me than a Stephen King ending. Like, I just feel like Stephen King is better about wrapping up the endings, whether they're happy endings or not, which they aren't always, but he still does a better job of wrapping them up. I think Richard Bachman likes to leave open endings, and I realize it's the same person. Like, I realize it's the same writer, but Stephen King thought of him as a separate, like, character. He had created a whole backstory for Richard Bachman and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I can see a difference in the two writing styles, and I think that that is very cool. And also, again, just shows how talented Stephen King is as a writer. So anyway, this one is good. Classic, just horror. Like, this one seems like one of those Twilight Zone episodes where things just kind of spiral out of control. And if you're into that stuff, I recommend Thinner. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know down below if you've read it. I want to talk about this book down there. Bye.